Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, distinguished audience and esteemed viewers, wherever you are joining us from today across Nigeria and around the world. I'm delighted to welcome you to another insightful session of Connect with Comfort show, where we explore the ideas, strategies, and disciplines that shape successful lives and thriving businesses. I am Comfort Eyitayo, your regular host for Connect with Comfort show. On this program, we aim to add value to people on business enterprise and personal growth. Each show is organized to feature subject matter experts as our special guest for the day who helps us to share more insights on the topic of the day. You are most welcome. Thanks for joining us. Today, we are diving into a powerful and often misunderstood topic, the discipline of scale, why business grow and others stop. Let's be honest, starting a business is hard, but growing one and sustaining that growth is even harder. That is where the real challenge lies. Many businesses start with passion, energy, and great ideas, but somewhere along the journey, growth slows down or sometimes completely stops. So the question is, why do some businesses scale successfully while others struggle to move beyond survival or even die? So today we will unpack the hidden discipline behind scaling, the common traps that keep businesses small, and the strategic mindset required for sustainable growth. And to help us navigate this conversation is our guest for today, who we already have in the house waiting for us to beckon on her. This we shall do in a moment after this short time out. Please remain connected. We'll be right back. You are welcome back. Our guest for today's show is Mrs. Taiwo Adeola Ojo, born on 3rd of May 1962 to the family of late Joseph Babatunde Bademosi and late Mrs. Florence Olufunke Bademosi ní Odebo of blessed memory. Her working experience spanned through accounting firms of chartered accountants Pitmawick Annie Ogunde and Co. and Olaniyi Titiloye and Co. She eventually started her own accounting firm called Adeola Bademosi Ojo and Co. as the managing partner. In furtherance of her career, she joined First Bank of Nigeria Limited, where she worked for above 20 years before she resumed back into her accounting firm. And also, she started her fitness venture business as an entrepreneur. She currently owns an accounting firm, Adeola Bademosi Ojo and Co., and the fitness ventures called Gold Rupeta Fitness Ventures. Taiwo is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. She was the chairperson of the Society of Women Accountants of Nigeria, SWAN, Abuja chapter between year 2019 to 2021. Taiwo loves traveling, reading, sports, and teaching. She is married with children. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome our guest of today, who is not a stranger to us on this show. She's one of the most regular audience on this show and contributor. Now she's coming as our special guest. I'm delighted to welcome a business strategist, an entrepreneur, financial expert with extensive experience in helping businesses transition from startup to scale. She had worked with organizations across industries, guiding leaders on how to build systems, strengthen financial discipline, and create structures that support long-term growth. Please join me in making welcome our special guest for today, Mrs. Taiwo Adeola Ojo, FCA. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, madam, for joining us today. This is a switching of a cap. You'll be one of our uh, greatest supporter for this show. Contributed highly, and you followed us virtually every time. Now you are coming as our special guest. We appreciate you highly. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Ma. I'm happy to be with you on this program.
Thank you. So, without much ado, we start straight at the interview segment by asking the foundational question. When we talk about discipline of scale, what exactly does that mean beyond increasing revenue?
Thank you. When you say something about discipline and going beyond revenue, it works for a business where you have the founder, or it may be an entrepreneur, a sole proprietor, so they are a big organization, and you are now expanding. As you expand, you notice that you are now increasing at a very fast rate, faster rate than the usual. Your volume is increasing, your profit is increasing, but the ultimate you want to achieve in that discipline of scale is you want to ensure your cost is not increasing at that rate at which the volume is increasing. Now, when you put that discipline into place, you bring in your efficiency. And as much as you have this, you want to ensure you sustain that level you are in growing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, definitely, we should not just look at revenue alone. That
Yes.
while we are having increase in volume or revenue, we should also be mindful of our cost. because that would affect our bottom line in the end. Thank you very much for that explanation. You know, because many people think scaling is just about increasing sales or expanding operation, but clearly it goes beyond that, and that is what our guests have just made us to understand. So, why would you describe scale as discipline, like we have mentioned, rather than a strategy?
Hmm. There is definitely a wide difference between the two. Discipline, when it comes into scaling as a discipline, you are looking at a long-term effect of your decision. And as much as you are planning towards that, you want to sustain that effect. It quite differs from strategy. Strategy, you already design what you want to achieve in the nearest future, in the long term, and you are looking at it as what ideas are you going to put in place, what action, which differs from that of discipline, scaling as a discipline. In scaling as a discipline, as much as you are expanding your revenue, as much as you are looking forward towards the achievement of that goal, because at that moment, you are now increasing at a very faster rate. And as you are increasing, your cost is also increasing. You now want to ensure you are minimizing that cost. You are watching the cost so that the base, your profitability margin, compared with ordinary growth is quite different, is magnitude. So when you call discipline scaling, you look at how you want to make your process efficient. You want to ensure all necessary bottlenecks are taken care of. And as much as possible, you improve all that you need to do and make sure you achieve that goal and sustain it in the long term effect, because that's the key. You are able to sustain that growth rate and reduce your cost, unlike strategy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The difference is being made clear to us. Yes, we want to scale. Scale means growing, go from one level to the other, but that should just not be the only focus. While you are doing that, you already have a strategy to scale up, but the discipline in why scaling up is the issue, and that is the one we are trying to emphasize here, that in planning your growth, that discipline of sustainability, which our guest is also referring to, is very, very important. You do not want to go up and down like a yo-yo. You must be able to sustain the growth, and then to make sure, like she said, and she has said twice on this on our response, is that be mindful of cost, not also escalating as you are growing. So it's very important to achieve that discipline of minimizing your costs while you are trying to maximize revenue or the growth of your business. Thank you very much. So let's look at the definition quite all right now. Let's look at why business stall. That is why some business do not grow as much as others. Let's have a flip side of the conversation by asking, what are the top 5 reasons business businesses stall? Top 5 reasons that could be responsible for businesses
Mm,
businesses stalling.
First and foremost, apart from the founder's mindset, because that is critical when you look at any business. What do you want to achieve? Now, in any business, your ultimate objective is to grow and to encourage or build up your system so that people outside will want to invest in it. So what will now happen if the owner of the business fails to do all that is expected, what will truncate your business? First, if you as a founder, you fail to look at what goes on around you, definitely you have competitors. How do you want to set your own standard to be unique and different from theirs? So you need to bring this in place. Then your cash flow matters a lot. If you're operating a business and you cannot set a goal as to how you manage your cash flow, then you have a problem, because once you mismanage long-term and short-term decision, it affects your cash flow. And once the cash flow is affected, the business will definitely truncate. And if care is not taken, it mars the business. Another way to look at it, the other one is, if you fail to delegate, because if you no matter how big, no matter who you are, things should work around you, not solely on you. Be it the MD of a big conglomerate, be it executive directors, you must learn to delegate and imbibe the ideas of your subordinates. The other one is rigidity. You have to eradicate what we call rigidity, in that you give room for flexibility in all you do. Immediately you don't bring flexibility in your decision making, in your action, in uh, your level of thinking, your level of bringing up your subordinates, your peers into your decision making, definitely it will truncate your business. The other one is poor infrastructure. You already have your cash flow, you already manage it, and you are doing fine, but you now fail to look at the key things that is necessary. You imagine, you start to look at uh, factors that are not necessary. Example, let me just use your physical appearance. Someone visits your office and you are telling the customer, be careful before you sit down. Definitely, definitely, they're telling the customer something is wrong. Why will I be telling customer to be careful before sitting down? Which means that structure is not in place. The good structure expected. Then you have customer centricity. Immediately you lose your focus on your customer. Definitely, you have another problem. As much as you are increasing your volume, you don't concentrate 100% on the processes that you are bringing up and forget about your customer. You must still carry your customer along. And then lastly, the founder's mindset is one key thing. You must learn to be a builder and not a doer. If you let everything that is to, to be done by you without bringing in your peers, your subordinates, definitely you will truncate the business, because the subordinates will be afraid of bringing out their ideas. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. That is interesting to know. I think if even if we don't have any other thing on this, that is a good hint that we can take home and then be very, very conscious of. We have been told about customer centric. You have to be very sure that customers are happy with you in every way, pleasing them, giving the right image. I think the example she gave about telling customer to be careful when they are sitting is about maybe project data protection of the company. So, but it's important also to be able to satisfy the customer, to know what the customers want, the areas that they need for you to eat. Because part of the reason why you are in decide to go into business because you discover that there's a gap, a need to be fulfilled, and therefore you want to provide that solution. So we must learn to learn from the people that we want to serve so that we can serve them well. Because we don't serve them with what we have in mind alone, and that's where it's also relating to the mindset that our guest is talking about. We should be able to uh, plan whatever we are doing in total satisfaction for customers. And she also reminds us of the importance of cash flow, which is the lifeblood of any business. So those are things that could easily bring down a business or stall it, even if it's not totally killing the business, it can drive it and slow the pace. And what we are looking at is scaling. So don't want anything to bring us down. We want things that move us forward. So your cash flow is a very important one. The builder's mindset is key, as we have said several times on this show. I mean, the owners, a builder or owner, mindset. The mindset, in fact, some of the points as guests mentioned relates also to the mindset. We talk of flexibility. You must be flexible enough to adapt to the trend that is going on, even if you have planned something in this way and current events or reality dictates that you make some adjustments. You have to be flexible enough to do that, and that's to do with mindset. It's also to do with delegation, because some of us are small business owners. We are the we are the MD, we are the manager, we are the cleaner, we are the everything. Your growth is going to be limited. It's not a course if you are the only one doing everything, because you can only do so much. And the time for you to start thinking of scaling will not even be there. The other policies you will need to think and liaise with other people will not be there if you are bogged down with doing. That's why I said just don't be doers alone. I mean builder alone. Also get people around, delegate. So delegation is another one we should watch out for. Competition is also very key. It's important for us to be mindful of our competitors. What are they doing? How can we carve a niche for ourselves? How can we make a difference in the market? Yes, we are doing the same business. It's not just yours, but why should people come to me? Why should they come to you? So that is in the statement of how you have carved a niche for yourself in that business. So these are very key. In fact, this is fundamental to the discussion today. All these top reasons why business store, and we are bringing that out so that you can avoid them in your business, to avoid making your business growth stunted, so that the scaling that we are all hopeful that we will achieve in our business will be attained. Thank you very much for that wonderful tips. Now, how does poor financial management limit growth?
Come again, ma.
Poor financial management,
Oh, okay,
how does
okay.
it limit growth?
Mm. You know, finance is the bedrock of any business. That's the first thing. So once you look at your finance and you set up the best parameter, then you are in line. So first and foremost, financial management, once you put it in place, it helps you to plan, it helps you to organize, it helps you to do your checks and balances in all the work of the organization. Now, once you mismanage the fund in the business, what do you expect? First, it will affect your decision making, especially your investments. If care is not taken, you would have been using, you have some short-term projects at hand, and you went to go and do a long-term investment with all the funds you have. Tell me, which fund are you going to now use for the short-term project? So definitely there's a problem in that. So you have to be sure of how to take your investment, your decisions on investment once you are managing your finances. Secondly, you have what we call self control when it comes into financing. What do we mean by that self control? It's not every business that comes your way you will rush into, because you are already, as much as you are scaling, you are improving, your product is growing fast, and definitely you would move into some other things. But that does not mean because you are now moving at that very fast rate, you should start diversifying and moving into different kinds of businesses, products, services. At the end of the day, it will become a jack of all trades, and know what that means. So it is better for you to perfect a particular one you are doing, and then you move forward. Then we also come to managing of working capital. Just like I've said about the investment, you need to learn how to manage your work. Immediately you mismanage your working capital, definitely you also have the problem of financial management. The working capital is to guide you as to what you want to do. You don't use liquid fund and start investing in business, in a building. You are just changing the structure, you are buying equipment. What are you going to use those things for? Is it not for the business? But what about those things that you actually need now, that you need to make that business works? Then financial management also, we tend to a situation where you have problem in managing your creditors, because immediately you have problem in your managing of your finances, you will not be able to meet up your creditors' requirements. Maybe you have been paying them every 30 days and they are used to that. They already have that confidence in you, reliability. All of a sudden, you start defaulting because of what? Because of financial management. Now, they will start withdrawing the credit facility they give you. They don't supply you as you need. And what does that mean? It start affecting your production. You don't meet up customers. And that takes us again from there to losing your customer. Because now, customer that knows that at a particular point in time, they need the goods and you supply, your inventory will be affected. You don't meet up customers like the way you used to meet do before. 10 customers can make demands and you deliver instantly. All of a sudden, you start postponing, you start appealing. Why? Because you have mismanaged your funds. Then you have something like what we call dividend management. You should learn how to plow back your profits. Immediately you mismanage your fund, definitely you will find out that your dividend, you should decide how do you want to give 100% dividend to your shareholders, or do you want to give just 50%? Or 10%, because you can't say you will not give. Every investors want returns. So no matter how, something small is better than nothing at all. But as you are doing that, you look at the bottom point so that you have enough to plow back into the business instead of running after huge funds. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nicely put. You've actually talked around all that matters for us to keep our eyes on the business growth. That is having good financial management. Like the question says, poor financial management affect or limit growth. So the same way, you have to have good financial management for you to have necessary growth. Our guests have told us about making sure that we do not use short-term funds to support long-term projects, because you just end up halfway. And then to be mindful about our credit line. We should not be giving more credit to our customers than we are getting from creditors, because at the end of the day, it will affect your liquidity ratio. That is very important, which also comes under financial management. Cash flow we talked about before also comes under good financial management. So in a nutshell, what that is saying to us is that even the discipline we mentioned earlier all comes into focus. For us to have good planning or fund to support the growth of the business, we have to look at what is important at a particular moment for the growth of the business, and those that we can defer, that are perhaps not necessary immediately, we need to defer them in order to make sure that the necessary injection of fund is made in line, in tandem with the growth that is anticipated. So that is very key. It requires some skill, but even at the very good or the lowest understanding of it, it means you cannot starve, that is, starve your business of the required fund and you expect it to grow. And how you get that required fund in place involves good financial management. That's the simplest way I can interpret this. And that is something we also have as business owners, we have to be mindful of. Thank you very much for those examples that you've given on this. Now, we've been talking of systems and then building our businesses, but therein, those systems require structure. At what stage should we actually start beginning to build structure or system for our business? At what stage?
Ah, well, once you are in business, you need to be monitoring your action, your output. Now, for you to identify the state at which you need to build up your system and your structure, is you want to see how repetitive are your processes, your task. Is it highly repetitive? With that, it's telling you there is need for you to shift. That is, move, make a leap. Then you also want to look at your level of documentation. You have your structure, you already knows what each and everyone does, and each of the employees also know what they are expected to do. But new entries are coming in and they cannot find their ground. They need to come up and start inquiring what and what. So it means certain thing is not right. Instantly, you need to know you have to design a good structure so that when any new entries or IRs come into your business, they are able to know their left from their right without going to meet anybody to ask for information. Then when you are overburdened, you are doing a lot of what do you call it, task. It's telling you that must you be the one, or must it be these few hands that needs to be doing all this? Then you need to think of bringing in new talents. And peradventure, when you check your finances and you look at the cost of bringing in new talent, you can, instead of bringing in hiring new talent, you can outsource. But not the key, not don't outsource your key elements, your key talents. You look at how to outsource some of the IRAs so that you reduce your cost. Then one other thing that is very important for you to know that it's time for you to improve on your system and your structure, that it is time for you to move up, is when you look at the rate at which your volume is improving, then you need to bring in some efficiency. Automations needs to set in. So at that level, you now need to maybe do away with some of the manual processes and bring in automation. But as you do that also, you watch the bottom point so that it doesn't cost it doesn't erode the margin you are trying to make. And then lastly, immediately you look at your financing, because some don't, they usually overlook that scenario that you need to bring in maybe something, do something like collaboration or bring in more partners, go into partnership so that you can improve on your capital base. Because at that level, as you're expanding, you need more fund. Do you want to live on only the profits, or you want to move into obtaining loan, which the cost will be higher? So, but if you bring in more partner, more capital investors, your capital increases and it's very cheap. You use that in your business. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Before I just make one point or two on that, we had contributions
Okay.
from some of our audience. One is from Pastor Omage. Uh,
Mm,
the point that we made on financial management, she said financial management is also a barometer of how the business is faring. If we don't keep financial records, we may be running a business whose health we don't know or manage. So
mm,
I guess
mm.
in a nutshell, we need
Record keeping.
good financial records to be able to determine what is going on at a particular time. Then we have
Mhm.
another one from Mr. Jai Simi. Many businesses experience early success but struggle to scale due to weaknesses in structure, leadership, discipline, financial management, and operational system. Very well said.
Yes.
And that ties nicely at the point just being made by our special guest when we are talking of structure. Obviously, from all that has been said, it is necessary for us to put our structure and systems in place right from the beginning, because, like the guest said, if you have new entrants into the company and you do not have a structure for them to guide them to know where they fit in or what to do, it becomes a problem. So it presupposes that you must have all this at the onset of course, it's something you as you go along and then you build more on it. But structure, documentation, they are very key. They are key even to me in some cases before you can even talk of scaling. If you don't have that, it will be difficult because, like we said, even for existing employees, not even just new entrants, they will not, they'll be working at cross purposes, and then you can have a situation of duplication of effort in one area, whereas you are suffering gaps in another area because people are just working like headless chicken. But if you have a structure, it already dictates what obtains in one department, what Mr. A or Mr. B should do, and the procedures, authorization, line and everything will be well spelled out. So nobody is the mistakes are minimal. It's it is less stressful even for us small businesses. I know not many small businesses can afford to get so many people to fit in, but as small as your business is, so would your structure. But you have the basic structure, then you can grow, you can expand as you are scaling, so that it gives you less headache. People will not have to come to you every minute, what is this, what is that, because your structure is well defined, it's already well put in place. So that is one thing that I would recommend for all of us that are small business owners. From the word go, you have to put your structure and systems in place, no matter how small it is. Put it in place to guide, and then you build on it. And then we have Another contribution from Bayo says, what is the most common, okay, that's the question. What is the most common self-inflicted bottleneck you, excuse me, what is the most common self-inflicted bottleneck you see founders create that eventually stops their company from scaling? That's a question for our guest.
Mm. Oh,
Yeah, you got the question.
yes. He wants to know
What is the most
the
common
problem
self-inflicted bottleneck that is
that,
uh,
yes,
for offer, if I
uh,
can use Yoruba,
yes, yes.
that
The,
we the owners we actually create problem for
for
ourselves.
ourselves.
What are the common ones? Mm.
First and foremost is ego driven. You look at a founder. I am the MD. I am the owner. What is it? He wants to be at the top of everything. He carries his ego around in the office. When it's coming, nobody looks up. What he says is final. This definitely will truncate the ideas from your subordinates, and definitely will affect your business. Then the other one that usually occur is when the founder refuse to, I mentioned it earlier, when you refuse to delegate, you want to be the doer. You want to do everything. Everything must go. And then when your subordinate even bring in good ideas, you shut them down. Did I ask you? When I need your assistance, I'll call you. Your attitude, the attitude of the founder itself. You roam yourself around the whole office. Nobody can talk. Then the founder sometimes they may not know, and they need to be mindful of this, which is part of the major problem that we are seeing in some small businesses, that at the end of the day they truncate, is the financial management. They hook the finance of the business around them. I will just tell you just a small scenario of a small organization of
Maybe we round up on that because we still have a lot of questions we have not
okay,
mentioned.
like
I think you've really
so I think
mentioned
those
it.
are the major. I've mentioned the
Yes.
two,
Mm.
three key things there. So with that, definitely it will truncate that business. That's the key bottleneck of the business.
Lack of delegation, and then maybe ability
Lack
not
of
even to be
education,
able to
ego
separate
driven,
personal finance from that of
yeah,
business finance, that
from
which comes under the
yeah,
financial
of the
management.
business
Thank you
finance,
very much.
yes.
Yes, we really need to move on because of time. So with for business owner who wants to scale, what are the key disciplines that you recommend that they must build? I'm sure we've even mentioned part of this. Those who want to scale now grow their business. We have already been established. Now we want
Information.
to grow. So what
Mhm. For for a new business that want to scale, you first of like you have what we call uh financial discipline. Part of that bottleneck I mentioned, you have financial discipline. How are you managing your cash flow? How are you doing your forecasting as to the business? How are you looking at how to relate your customer uh, uh, financial needs? Because your customer may come to you and says, please, I will not be able to pay within so period, I'll pay you this. You don't shun them off. So you need to bring in that financial discipline. That will help you to scale up on your business. Then the other one now is you have to have what we call people discipline. What do we mean by people discipline? You have your the staff you are using. You don't say because you now want to scale up, you go AWire and go and recruit new talents. Yes, it's good to recruit talents, new talents, but not at the something that will jeopardize your business, because those that you have there, they're already rooted in the business. They know the intricacies of the business. So instead of you to go and employ new set of talents, why don't you upgrade them? Why don't you give them training and then let them come up? Because the it's just like the thief. I mean, what's that proverb? The thief you know is better than the one you
The
don't
devil,
know. You know,
the devil you know is
the
better
devil
than
you know. Thank you,
a
thank you.
stranger
Devil
you
you
do
know,
not know.
is better than the one you don't know.
Stranger you don't know, yeah.
Then you yourself, you must have your personal discipline. You must try to differentiate between business and your individual home affair. You don't mingle personal deeds with business. Then the key one now is your documentation and standardization. As much as you want to scale up, you have to ensure you bring some sense of efficiency into your process. And as you do this, you watch the documentation and you watch your standardization so that there is a sense of uniqueness in what you are doing when compared with your competitor. So I think with this few, should be you should be satisfied, ma'am. Or you want me
Yes,
to go
yes.
further? Because I'm
No,
trying to look at time. Since you have
no, that
many other
is
questions, I wouldn't know.
yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. No, I'm saying, can you hear me?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Now,
I'm hearing
the
you.
you can hear me. Okay, good. Now, many we know that many entrepreneurs operate like operators, like you have mentioned them, mentioned that before, not as architects, but scaling requires designing system, like we mentioned, and not just working harder. So
Mhm.
let's make this practical. What mistakes do businesses make when trying to scale too quickly?
When trying to scale,
Too quickly.
oh, hmm, definitely they make some huge mistake. First, like I said in the other one, rushing into hiring talents because you are expanding does not mean you should rush to quickly start hiring. Instead of hiring, you can do with freelancers, you can do with outsourcing, you can do with upgrading at a minimal cost. Secondly, you try to ensure you go step one step at a time. You don't leap because sometimes that is the problem. Because you're already making your margin, and you see that this margin has improved drastically. So your next level now is you go straight into en masse production without first of all checking your customer base. Ah, have you increased your customer in numbers for you to meet up the inventory you are creating? Then the space you are going to put those, have you considered that? So they don't put all this into place and rush into huge production, which marks the product, the organization, the business. Then what other thing they also rush in doing is, instead of them to manage their cash flow one at a time, maybe they see a huge investment and they now see that, oh, this is definitely promising. They rush into it without first of all considering what are the little things that I need to do now. With that, you have already missed the goal, and this will affect your business. Then one other thing that they need to always try to keep a check and balance of is their cost. That as much as your revenue is increasing, as much as your efficiency is being improved, are you able to sustain that margin at a wider level, and not that your cost is already climbing and eroding the margin you have already created. So they don't do a check and balancing of what they are doing, how have they gone, and are they doing fine? Something like we call performance measurement. We call it key performance indicators. You look at that aspect of it. Are you aligning your goal with your objective? Or you are just rushing into things? So with this, if care is taken and they are looked at, definitely they will not have problem in going into scaling. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I believe the idea is really made very clear in all that we have said. We must look at what comes first: scaling or profit, system or people which comes first, and then growth or sustainability. In all our decisions, we need to factor this in. Then, as we have said several times, the issue of financial management is very key in scaling, even for us to sustain the business is very key. So that's one thing we have to be mindful of. It's been a very insightful session, no doubt. The scaling aspect is very clear that it's not an accidental thing. It's something that we have to do intentionally. We have to put a lot of effort, and it requires discipline, structure, and courage to evolve. It's to our audience. If your business is not growing, it may be because of lack of opportunity. It may also be lack of system, clarity, or discipline. So it's very important to note all that has been said in the show. Before we move on, I want to really appreciate our online audience. Many people join us while we are on the conversation. And of course, many people also contributed, shared their contribution as they have done. So, like we have Bayo Banjo that also asked question, contributed through a question. We have Mr. Jai Simi who also contributed through that insight on financial management. Dr. Aseyin, one of our regular follower, also was on the show. Pastor Yemi Oyeni, Sola Taiwo. Now I know who you are. Good afternoon. You are welcome. Esther Ogugwa, send love to our guest. Nimota Modupe, Olatokun Rija, and a few others. Please pardon me if I didn't pick your name because in the process of trying to show me so many things, I may have missed it when it scrolled past. So definitely, I want to believe that we have been able to pass a hint or two for the growth of your business this evening. And if you believe it has been of value to you, we plead that you share this knowledge with others. My special appreciation is to our resourceful guest, Taiwo Ojo, who has done us proud by sharing a wealth of experience with us today. Thank you very much for coming. For you are an ardent follower of Connected Comfort Show, and you have also shared your experience this afternoon. Thank you very much. We do not take it for
Thank you,
granted.
ma'am.
We appreciate you. We appreciate your time. So please, like I said, our dear esteemed audience, if you find this show useful or this particular episode useful, tag someone, send a message, and also try and take action. Uh, our our next show is on Easter Day. I will use this opportunity to wish you happy Easter in advance. Our next topic thereafter will be influence and authority. becoming the go-to voice in your industry. That's a powerful one, and we have an equally powerful guest to help us decipher this topic. So, in the meantime, I wish you all well. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Comfort Eyitayo. Once you have subscribed, please turn on the notification button, like and share our videos. Stay updated for information, events, solutions on our Instagram account at Comfort Eyitayo, as well as my Facebook account at Comfort Eyitayo. Okay, we have some people, Viola, Salis, you are welcome. So as I look forward to welcoming you on this show again, please keep growing, be courageous, and make sure you have the necessary discipline to scale up. God bless you. We have Bosse. Okay, Bosse, Ricardo, my sister, you are welcome. You are welcome. I'm just seeing your name. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've all gained from this show. Thank you very much. So this is the end of the show. Until we come your way again, we say remain blessed. God bless you.